The morning sun cast long, golden beams over the distant mountains, glinting against a structure that seemed almost unreal. Kiran stood at the edge of a rocky cliff, staring at the crystal tower. Its walls shimmered like water caught in sunlight, reflecting colors that no human eye had seen before. Even from this distance, he felt a strange pull toward it, a mixture of wonder and nervous excitement. Tales of the tower had spread across villages and kingdoms, stories of unimaginable beauty, hidden secrets, and treasures of knowledge. Many had tried to enter, but few returned, and those who did spoke of strange trials and visions that tested the heart. Kiran adjusted the strap of his worn leather satchel. Inside, he carried maps, a small journal, and a few tools he thought might help him inside the tower. He had traveled far for this moment, driven by curiosity and the hope of discovery. But standing there, he felt something more, an unexpected thrill that tingled through his chest. The tower was not just a building. It was alive. Its crystal walls seemed to hum with energy, as if whispering his name. He began the careful climb down the cliff, each step deliberate, feeling the rough stone beneath his boots. The closer he came, the more he noticed the details. The tower's base was not solid rock, it was made of thousands of interlocking crystal panels that glowed faintly from within. Light moved across their surfaces like liquid, shifting with the angle of the sun. Kiran felt his heart quicken. Whoever had built this tower or whatever had created it was far beyond any human skill he had ever seen. As he approached the entrance, he noticed movement near the first level of the tower. A figure stepped out from between two massive crystal pillars. Kiran froze, unsure if he should call out. The figure was a woman, tall and graceful, with hair that seemed to catch the sunlight like threads of gold. Her eyes were calm and steady, but there was something about them that hinted at knowledge far deeper than Kiran could imagine. She carried herself with quiet confidence, moving as though the tower itself responded to her presence. "Hello," Kiran said cautiously, raising a hand. The woman's lips curved into a small, polite smile. "You're not afraid?" she asked softly. Her voice was gentle, yet it carried a strength that made Kiran stand a little taller. I've traveled far," he admitted. "I want to see what's inside the tower. I want to understand it." She studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. "Many come seeking knowledge," she said, "but few understand what it asks in return." Kiran nodded. He had heard the stories. The tower was said to show visions, temptations, and trials that could confuse or mislead anyone who was not careful. He felt a sudden shiver of anticipation and apprehension. "I am Lyra," she said, extending a hand. "I have been here longer than most. I know the tower's ways. Perhaps I can guide you, if you are willing to follow its rules." Kiran shook her hand, noting the firm yet kind grip. "I am Kiran," he said. "I would be grateful for your guidance. I want to learn, not just to find treasure." Lyra's eyes softened, a flicker of approval crossing her face. "Then we can begin. But remember," she warned, "the tower does not just reveal what you seek. It shows what you need to see, and sometimes, what you fear most." With a deep breath, Kiran followed Lyra through the massive crystal doors. The air inside was cool and almost alive, vibrating faintly with energy. The walls reflected and multiplied their images, making the hallways seem endless. Kiran marveled at the colors that danced across the surfaces, each step filling him with awe. He could hear the faint hum of the tower, like a living heartbeat, steady and unrelenting. As they moved deeper, Kiran could not help but glance at Lyra. She walked with purpose, confident in every step, yet always aware of the tower around them. He realized that this journey would be more than a search for knowledge, it would be a test of courage, patience, and perhaps even the heart. The tower had a way of drawing out both fear and desire, curiosity and doubt, and Kiran felt its subtle pull already tugging at him. By the time they reached the first chamber, Kiran understood that his adventure had truly begun. The tower was more than a place, it was a living challenge, and he was determined to face it whatever it might reveal. Lyra glanced back at him, a small, encouraging smile crossing her face. For the first time since he saw the tower, Kiran felt a flicker of reassurance. Perhaps he was not alone in this. Perhaps together, they could unlock the secrets of the Crystal Tower. The first chamber of the Crystal Tower was unlike anything Kiran had imagined. Light bent and twisted across the walls, creating patterns that shifted like moving water. Each step he took echoed softly, as if the tower itself was listening to him. Lyra led the way with quiet confidence, her eyes scanning the corridors ahead, alert for any hidden traps or surprises. Kiran felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. The stories he had heard of this tower did not do it justice, it was alive, and it seemed to respond to their presence. "Stay close," Lyra whispered, not out of fear, but caution. The tower tests everyone differently. One wrong thought, and it can make even the bravest wander in confusion. Kiran nodded. He could feel a strange energy in the air, something that tugged at his thoughts and emotions. The walls reflected not only their images but also glimpses of what they feared or desired. For a moment, Kiran saw himself standing alone in a storm, lost forever in the tower's endless halls. He shook his head quickly, focusing on Lyra's steady presence beside him. Her calmness was reassuring, and he realized that he had to trust her to navigate this strange place. They turned a corner and found themselves in a maze of crystal corridors. The passages twisted in impossible angles, reflecting countless versions of themselves. Kiran rubbed his eyes, trying to make sense of what he saw. Every reflection seemed alive, whispering doubts and fears. One mirrored Kiran failing at every step of his journey. Another showed him giving up and walking away from the tower. "Don't look too long," Lyra advised softly. "The tower wants to confuse you. It shows your doubts to make you question yourself." Kiran swallowed his fear. He took a deep breath and focused on the path ahead, following Lyra's calm movements. Together, they moved slowly through the twisting corridors, speaking little but communicating much through gestures and glances. He noticed the way she adjusted her pace when he hesitated, the way her hand hovered near his when she sensed his uncertainty. It was subtle, but it gave him courage. Suddenly, the corridor shifted. What had been a straight path now bent and curved in impossible ways. Kiran's heart raced as he realized the maze was changing around them. He stumbled slightly, catching himself on the smooth crystal wall. A reflection nearby seemed to mock him, showing him falling into a deep, dark void. "Keep moving," Lyra said firmly. "Don't let it control you. Remember, the maze only works if you give it power." Kiran nodded, gripping his satchel tightly. He followed her, step by careful step, until they reached a small chamber filled with floating crystal orbs. Each orb glowed softly, casting light in shifting colors. The tower's hum grew louder here, more intense, almost like a heartbeat. "These orbs respond to emotions," Lyra explained. "They test how steady you are. If you let fear guide you, the path will disappear. If you focus on your goals and trust yourself, the way forward will reveal itself." Kiran stared at the orbs, feeling their strange energy. He closed his eyes for a moment, centering himself, and then reached out toward the nearest orb. It shimmered brightly under his touch, and a path of light opened up through the chamber. Lyra smiled softly, clearly impressed. "Well done," she said. "You are learning quickly. The tower respects courage and clarity." As they continued, Kiran noticed that he and Lyra were moving more in sync. They had yet to speak openly about their thoughts or fears, but the simple act of navigating the maze together created a quiet bond. Kiran felt an unexpected warmth in his chest whenever their hands brushed or their eyes met. He did not yet fully understand these feelings, but they were real and comforting. Hours seemed to pass, though he could not tell exactly how long. The corridors twisted and turned, but slowly, steadily, they made progress. Kiran felt a sense of pride, not just in himself, but in their teamwork. They encouraged each other without words, their presence enough to calm doubt and fear. Finally, they reached the exit of the first maze. The corridor opened into a chamber bathed in soft sunlight, streaming through the crystal walls. Kiran breathed deeply, feeling the tension leave his body. Lyra turned to him, her eyes calm and approving. "You did well," she said. "Many fail here, not because they lack skill, but because they doubt themselves. Trust, Kiran, is more powerful than fear." He smiled, feeling a mixture of relief and admiration. "I couldn't have done it without you," he admitted honestly. Lyra's lips curved in a small, gentle smile. "And I couldn't have done it without your courage. This tower, it tests more than skill. It tests the heart. And yours seems steady so far." For the first time, Kiran felt a true sense of partnership. The crystal tower was a place of danger and mystery, but he was no longer alone. With Lyra by his side, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead. And deep inside, he sensed that this journey would reveal more than just secrets of the tower. It would reveal something about themselves, and perhaps even something deeper, about the bond forming between them. The deeper Kiran and Lyra went into the crystal tower, the stronger its strange energy became. The walls shimmered with ever-changing colors, and the faint hum of the tower seemed to echo thoughts as much as footsteps. Every corner, every crystal, seemed alive, responding to their presence. Kiran could feel it tugging at his mind, stirring emotions he did not yet fully understand. He had faced fear, confusion, and doubt, but now it seemed the tower wanted to test something else, something closer to the heart. They entered a circular chamber where the walls were made entirely of translucent crystal. Sunlight filtered in through the upper sections, scattering rainbows across the floor. The air felt heavier here, almost like it carried memories and whispers. Kiran noticed how Lyra paused in the center of the room, her eyes closed, breathing slowly. "What is this place?" he asked quietly. "The Whispering Hall," Lyra said softly, opening her eyes. "The tower shows visions here, visions of desire, of hope, even of fear. It is easy to be tempted here, to follow illusions rather than reality. You must stay focused on what is real." Kiran nodded, feeling a sudden tightness in his chest. As he stepped forward, the crystals began to glow brighter, reflecting not only his image but also faint, shifting visions of his thoughts. For a moment, he saw himself walking through a peaceful life outside the tower, standing alone but content. Then the vision shifted, showing him sharing adventures, laughter, and quiet moments with Lyra. His heart skipped a beat. He quickly looked away, unsure why the images stirred such strong feelings. Lyra noticed the change in his expression. "The tower shows what we want most," she said, her voice gentle. "And sometimes, it shows what we are afraid to admit. Do not let it confuse you." Kiran swallowed, realizing she spoke wisely. He had always thought of himself as brave and focused, but now he felt emotions he had never allowed himself to feel so clearly. Admiration, trust, and something warmer whenever he looked at Lyra. He forced himself to focus, to remember why he had come to explore, to learn, and to understand the tower. As they moved through the chamber, the crystals shifted again, reflecting scenes of possibilities. In one corner, Kiran saw Lyra laughing at something he had said earlier in the journey. It was a small moment, but it made his chest tighten with an unfamiliar warmth. In another reflection, they were walking together outside the tower, far from danger, talking quietly under the sun. The images were vivid, almost real. Kiran shook his head, trying to clear the strange feelings. These are just visions, he murmured to himself. They are the tower's illusions. But he noticed Lyra watching him, her expression calm yet thoughtful. She reached out, lightly touching a crystal near him. The crystal shimmered and the vision faded. The tower reacts to how we feel, she explained. It can tempt us, but it cannot create what is real. That comes from within. Kiran felt a surge of respect for her. She was not only brave and skilled, but also wise. He realized that his growing feelings for her were not entirely the tower's doing, they were genuine. He felt a quiet admiration and something deeper he could not yet name. They continued through the chamber, navigating small crystal bridges and stepping over glowing stones. The tower seemed to sense their connection, responding with a gentle hum and soft pulses of light. Kiran noticed that when he and Lyra moved closer together, the crystals shimmered more brightly, almost as if approving of their unity. He stole a glance at her, and she met his eyes for a moment. In that instant, he felt a warmth spreading through him, a quiet, comforting feeling of companionship. "Do you feel it too?" he asked cautiously, not wanting to break the delicate balance of trust they had built. Lyra's lips curved in a faint smile. "Yes," she admitted softly. "The tower has a way of showing us truths we sometimes hide from ourselves. But remember, truth must be tempered with wisdom." Kiran nodded, feeling a mix of relief and happiness. For the first time in the tower, he felt that their bond was not just a product of illusions. It was real, built on trust, respect, and shared experience. And though the Whispering Hall tried to tempt them with visions, he understood that the real reward was the connection they were forming. As they left the chamber, stepping onto a narrow corridor lit by the soft glow of the crystals, Kiran felt more certain than ever. The tower could tempt and confuse, but he and Lyra had learned to rely on each other. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that their journey together had only just begun. The tower had more trials ahead, but with Lyra by his side, Kiran felt ready to face whatever came next: challenges, temptations, and perhaps even the quiet stirrings of love. The corridor beyond the Whispering Hall narrowed, and Kiran felt a chill run down his spine. The hum of the tower grew louder here, vibrating through his chest like a heartbeat. He glanced at Lyra, who walked ahead with calm determination. Her confidence reassured him, but he knew that whatever awaited them in the upper levels would be more challenging than anything they had faced before. As they turned a corner, a large chamber opened before them. The walls were taller than any Kiran had ever seen, carved entirely of crystal that reflected and refracted light into dazzling patterns. In the center of the room stood a figure, radiant and imposing. It was the guardian of the tower, a spirit formed from the crystals themselves, its body shimmering like a living prism. Kiran felt his breath catch. This was the challenge that everyone had warned about. "Welcome, travelers," the guardian said in a voice that seemed to echo from every surface at once. To proceed further, you must prove your worth. This test will measure courage, wisdom, and selflessness. Fail, and you will remain here, lost to the tower's endless halls. Kiran swallowed hard but straightened his back. We are ready, he said, feeling a surge of determination. The guardian's eyes, if it could be said to have eyes, glowed brighter. Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted. Crystals rose like jagged spikes, forming a labyrinth of obstacles. At the same time, illusions appeared around them, showing their deepest fears. Kiran saw visions of himself falling into the void, alone and forgotten. He saw Lyra being swept away by shadows, and for a moment, panic rose in his chest. Focus, Lyra whispered, her voice calm and steady. Do not let the illusions control you. We face this together. Her words anchored him. Kiran took a deep breath, pushing aside the images and concentrating on the path ahead. Step by careful step, they navigated the jagged crystal floor, helping each other over obstacles. Kiran noticed how Lyra adjusted her movements to protect him when a spike threatened to unbalance him. He, in turn, guided her when an illusion tried to separate them. They moved as a single unit, their trust in each other growing with every challenge. The guardian's voice echoed again, this time softer, almost probing. Strength alone is not enough. Your hearts must be true. Only through cooperation can you succeed. Kiran realized what the spirit meant. The tower was not merely testing their bravery or skill, it was testing their bond. He and Lyra had to rely on each other completely, not just for survival, but for clarity of mind and spirit. He reached for her hand instinctively, and she accepted it without hesitation. A warm, steady feeling spread through him. Their touch seemed to calm the illusions around them, and the path ahead became clearer. Together, they solved puzzles of shifting crystal panels, navigated narrow bridges that appeared only when they moved in sync, and avoided traps that responded to fear. Each step was more difficult than the last, but they never let go of each other. Kiran realized that the Guardian's test was teaching them more than survival, it was teaching them to trust, to act with courage, and to value each other's presence. Finally, they reached the center of the chamber, where a crystal pedestal rose from the floor. Upon it was a glowing orb, radiant and humming with energy. The Guardian's voice spoke one last time. You have proven your worth. Courage guided you, wisdom protected you, and your hearts remained true. Take the orb and continue, but remember the lessons learned here. The tower rewards unity above all. Kiran and Lyra approached the pedestal together. He glanced at her and saw the same sense of relief and pride mirrored in her eyes. They lifted the orb together, feeling its warmth spread through their hands and into their hearts. It was a symbol, not just of the tower's approval, but of the bond they had forged under pressure. As they left the chamber, the crystal walls glowed softly, almost as if congratulating them. Kiran felt a sense of accomplishment and wonder, but more than that, he felt gratitude. Gratitude for Lyra's calm guidance, for her courage, and for the connection that had grown between them. Walking side by side through the corridor, Kiran finally allowed himself a thought he had tried to suppress. This journey was about more than the tower's secrets or magic. It was about trust, partnership, and the quiet understanding that sometimes, the greatest strength comes from standing together. And for the first time, Kiran felt that the adventure inside the crystal tower was shaping not only their path but their hearts as well. After passing the Guardian's test, Kiran and Lyra continued their ascent through the crystal tower. The corridors here were narrower, with walls that seemed almost alive, glowing faintly in soft blues and purples. Light shimmered across every surface, and Kiran could feel the energy of the tower pulsing around him. It was beautiful, yet he sensed that the tower still had many lessons to teach. Lyra moved ahead with calm confidence, as always, but Kiran noticed a thoughtful expression on her face. She glanced at him, and for a moment, her usual guarded demeanor softened. Kiran felt an urge to speak, to ask questions, but he also respected the quiet strength she carried. After a short walk, they arrived at a small chamber with walls of clear crystal. Sunlight poured in from above, filling the room with warmth. Lyra stopped and turned to face him. "Kiran," she said quietly, "there is something I need to tell you. You have proven yourself brave and true, but you should know more about me before we go further." Kiran's curiosity grew. "What is it?" he asked, his voice steady but gentle. Lyra took a deep breath. "I have spent many years in this tower, protecting it and learning from it. Few outsiders have ever been allowed to enter, and fewer still have reached this level. I have trusted the tower to guide me, and in return, I have guided others, but I rarely trust anyone completely. Until now." Kiran listened closely, impressed by her honesty. He could see the weight of responsibility in her eyes, but also a quiet pride in her role as protector. "I understand," he said sincerely. "It must have been a lonely path at times." Lyra nodded. "It has been. And yet, the tower has taught me patience, focus, and the importance of trust. You have shown me courage, honesty, and the ability to keep your heart steady, even when faced with uncertainty. That is why I feel I can trust you." Kiran felt a warm sense of respect and admiration for her. Her words were not just guidance, they were an invitation to become partners, to share not only the adventure but the responsibility of what lay ahead. He realized that their journey through the tower was more than a quest for knowledge. It was also a journey of understanding and connection. "I want to learn from you, Lyra," Kiran said quietly. "And I want to face the tower together. I trust you." Her lips curved into a small, approving smile. "And I trust you, Kiran. That trust will be important, because the tower tests not only skill, but also the heart." They moved deeper into the chamber, the walls glowing brighter as if acknowledging their words. Kiran noticed how naturally they worked together, how Lyra's calm observation complemented his quick thinking, and how their combined focus allowed them to navigate obstacles more smoothly. It was not just trust, but a silent partnership, built on shared experience and mutual respect. As they reached the center of the chamber, Lyra paused again. "There is one more thing," she said softly. "The tower can show visions and temptations, but it cannot replace real connection. What we feel, what we build together, it is stronger than any illusion. That is why I wanted to tell you my past. So you know that my trust in you is real." Kiran felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling of reassurance and pride. The tower was a place of trials, but it could not shake the connection that had formed between them. He reached out, lightly touching her hand. The crystal walls around them shimmered, almost as if acknowledging the sincerity of their bond. "You have taught me as much as the tower has," he said quietly. "Not just about courage or knowledge, but about trust and companionship. I am grateful for that." Lyra looked at him with a gentle intensity. "And I am grateful for your courage and honesty. We are stronger together, Kiran. That is a truth the tower cannot take from us." For a moment, they stood in silence, surrounded by the soft glow of the crystals, feeling the bond they had created. It was not just trust, or friendship, it was something deeper, a quiet understanding that they could rely on each other no matter what challenges awaited. As they left the chamber, Moving toward the upper levels of the tower, Kiran felt a sense of confidence he had not felt before. The tower was still full of mysteries and trials, but with Lyra by his side, he was ready for whatever came next. Their connection had grown stronger, and he knew that whatever the tower might show them, they would face it together. The Crystal Tower was not just a place of magic and danger. It was a place that tested the heart, and Kiran realized that in trusting each other, they had already passed one of its most important trials. And deep inside, he felt a quiet happiness, knowing that their journey was far from over and that the bond they were building would guide them through the trials yet to come. Kiran and Lyra climbed higher into the Crystal Tower, the air growing thinner and the glow of the crystals brighter. The corridors twisted and shimmered, reflecting their images in countless ways. Every step seemed heavier, as if the tower itself was aware of their approach to the final trial. Kiran could feel both excitement and unease stirring in his chest. He knew that whatever awaited them at the top would test not only their courage and skill, but also the bond they had built. At last, they reached the pinnacle, a chamber entirely made of clear crystal. Sunlight poured through the ceiling, scattering into a dazzling spectrum that filled the room with light. In the center floated a radiant orb, larger than any Kiran had ever seen, glowing with a soft, pulsing energy. The tower's hum rose louder here, almost as if it were a living heartbeat, resonating with their presence. "The final test," Lyra said quietly, her eyes fixed on the glowing orb. "This is the ultimate temptation. The tower will offer knowledge, power, even the ability to shape reality itself. But it comes at a price. Those who take it may gain everything they desire, and lose what is most important." Kiran felt a shiver run through him. He glanced at the orb, its light calling to him in a way he had never experienced. He imagined all the answers to questions he had carried for years, all the secrets of the world at his fingertips. The pull was strong, almost irresistible. But then he looked at Lyra. Her eyes were steady, full of trust and courage. The thought of losing her, even for the promise of power, made his heart tighten. The chamber began to shimmer, showing visions of what they could have if they reached for the orb. In one vision, Kiran stood alone, holding limitless knowledge and authority. In another, he saw himself at Lyra's side, but with a life of simple adventure, learning together and facing challenges as equals. The temptation was clear: the tower offered greatness, but the price was separation, isolation, or loss of what truly mattered. Lyra reached out and took his hand. "Kiran," she said softly, "we can have everything if we choose the orb, but only alone. We cannot hold both the tower's gift and our bond. What is truly valuable?" Kiran looked into her eyes and felt clarity wash over him. The tower could tempt them with illusions, but it could not create the truth of what they had built together. His admiration, trust, and quiet affection for Lyra were real. No vision, no promise of power, could replace that. He shook his head, gently squeezing her hand. "I choose us, Lyra," he said firmly. "I don't need the orb. The tower's secrets are not worth losing you." Lyra's eyes softened, a small, approving smile crossing her face. "I choose the same," she said. "The tower can offer anything, but it cannot replace what is real. We have learned together. That is more important than any power it can give." As they stepped back from the orb, the chamber seemed to react. The radiant light shifted from dazzling and overwhelming to calm and steady, surrounding them with a warm glow. The tower's hum softened into a gentle vibration, almost as if it were pleased with their choice. Kiran felt a sense of peace he had never known before. For a moment, they stood together in silence, holding hands, letting the tower's energy settle around them. Kiran realized that this choice was a turning point. The trials, the illusions, and the temptations had tested not just their skill or courage, but the strength of their connection. They had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged stronger, together. Lyra squeezed his hand gently. "We have passed the tower's greatest test," she said. "It has shown us courage, trust, and loyalty. And we have chosen wisely." Kiran nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him. The tower had offered visions, temptations, and trials, but it could not interfere with the truth of their bond. He felt admiration, respect, and a quiet affection for Lyra, stronger than ever. Their journey had brought them closer, and this trial had only deepened their trust. As they began to leave the chamber, walking down the crystal corridors toward the exit, Kiran glanced around at the tower's sparkling walls. It was a place of wonder, mystery, and magic, but the most important lesson it had taught him was simple: the greatest strength lies in unity, trust, and choosing what is real over what is tempting. Together, Kiran and Lyra descended, their hands intertwined, their hearts light with the knowledge that they had made the right choice. The crystal tower still shimmered around them, alive with magic, but its pull no longer threatened their bond. They had faced temptation and had chosen each other. And in that choice, Kiran knew that whatever lay beyond the tower, they would face it side by side, stronger, braver, and closer than ever. Kiran and Lyra stepped carefully down the final stretch of the crystal tower. The corridors grew brighter as they descended, the walls shimmering with soft colors that reflected the morning sun outside. Every step felt lighter than before, as if the tower itself recognized that they had passed its greatest challenges. The hum that had accompanied them from the lower levels now felt gentle and calm, a quiet farewell from the living structure that had tested their hearts and minds. As they approached the main entrance, the tower opened into a wide, open terrace. From here, they could see the valleys and mountains beyond, stretching into the horizon under a sky painted with the soft pinks and oranges of sunset. Kiran paused for a moment, letting the sight fill him with awe. He had dreamed of reaching the tower, of discovering its secrets, but the beauty around him now felt like more than just a reward. It felt like a promise, a new beginning. Lyra stood beside him, her expression calm and content. "It is beautiful, isn't it?" she said softly. Kiran nodded, turning to look at her. "Yes," he replied. "And it feels even better because we are here together." For a moment, they shared a quiet silence, taking in the view and the feeling of freedom after so many trials. The tower behind them shimmered one last time, as if bidding them farewell. Kiran realized that the crystal tower had not only tested them, it had taught them lessons they would carry for a lifetime: courage, trust, wisdom, and the power of genuine connection. "You have grown stronger," Lyra said, her voice gentle. "And so have I. But most importantly, we have grown together. That is what truly matters." Kiran smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. "I never thought I would find someone I could trust like this," he admitted. "Someone who understands and supports me, even in the hardest moments." Lyra's smile deepened, and she reached for his hand. "And I never thought I would meet someone who could face the tower's trials with courage and honesty. Someone who values partnership over personal gain." They stood together, hands clasped, feeling the quiet strength of their bond. The crystal tower had offered visions, temptations, and trials, yet none of it mattered compared to the trust and companionship they had discovered in each other. Kiran realized that the greatest reward of the tower was not knowledge, treasure, or power, it was the connection they had built, stronger than any magic or illusion. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Casting a golden glow across the landscape, Kiran and Lyra began their descent from the terrace. Each step felt like a step into a new life, one filled with possibilities and shared adventure. The path ahead was uncertain, but they knew they could face it together. "You think the tower will miss us?" Kiran asked, a playful tone in his voice. Lyra laughed softly. "Perhaps," she said. "But I think it will remember us, in its own way. We have honored it with our courage and our hearts. That is enough." Kiran felt a surge of happiness at her words. The tower had been a challenge, yes, but it had also been a teacher. And now, stepping out into the open world, he felt ready for anything. With Lyra by his side, no challenge seemed too great, no journey too long. They walked down the mountain path, leaving the tower behind. The crystal walls faded in the distance, replaced by forests, rivers, and open fields. Birds sang in the trees, and a gentle breeze carried the scents of wildflowers. Kiran took a deep breath, feeling the air fill him with energy and hope. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "The world outside the tower is full of challenges too," she said. "But together, we can face them all." Kiran nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "And we will," he said firmly. "No matter what comes, we face it together." As they walked on, the mountains behind them seemed smaller, the horizon wider. The crystal tower still sparkled faintly in the distance, a reminder of the lessons they had learned and the bond they had formed. But Kiran knew that what mattered most was not the tower or its secrets, it was the shared journey, the trust, and the quiet, steady connection between them. Side by side, Kiran and Lyra moved forward into the open world. The sun set behind them, painting the sky with colors as brilliant as the crystal walls they had left behind. They had faced temptation, fear, and challenge, and had chosen each other. And with that choice, they began a new chapter, one filled with adventure, trust, and the promise of a future built together, stronger than any magic the world could offer. In the end, it was not the crystal tower that defined them, but the courage of their hearts and the bond they had nurtured along the way. And as they disappeared into the horizon, hand in hand, Kiran and Lyra knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it as partners, equals, and friends forever united by the journey they had shared.